All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. This is actually about the third time that we've done a Crimes Against the Elderly seminar. We got a little interrupted there by COVID, and we're glad to get this going again. So I appreciate you coming out. I'll tell you more about what to expect today, but you should have a program in front of you. Generally speaking, each of the speakers will tell you about their respective agencies and what they could handle. And then, after everyone's made their opening remarks, we'll go into a breakout session where you can choose which agency or which topic you want to get more information about. And might as well go ahead and cover this too, that if there's something you want to speak with any of the agencies about that's private and you don't particularly want to share it with the whole group, all you have to do is tell them that, and there's a space here for you to do just that. So the whole idea here is to give you as much information as we can on two major topics. That'll be the scams, and the other topic is elder abuse. And you should be able to leave here with plenty of information, plus you should leave here, if you need it, with an agency that can help you. So before we get started, let's start with Dr. Brunson. I'll ask him to come up and do the invocation for us. Thank you.
It's an honor to have you here today for this event. I do want to let you know one housekeeping thing, that if you need the restroom facilities, they are out either of these exit doors and to the right. And so there are men's and women's restrooms there. And so if you need those, and there's also additional down the hallway and around the corner. So they're nearby. Let's bow for a word of prayer. Almighty and gracious God, we give you thanks as we gather today. For the beauty of this day and the wonder of creation, we give you thanks. You have blessed us in more ways than we can imagine. We thank you for the joy of life, the big things, the little things. We thank you for the smile of children and the laughter of friends, for a wonderful meal and the friends to share it and family to gather. We thank you for anything and everything that fills our life, because we know that all good things come from you. And so we thank you for our city that cares about all of us and gathers us together so that we can learn and so that we can be safe. We pray that you'll be with us in our time together today. May our minds be cleared and our thoughts be ready so that we can receive the information that's shared, so that each of us can go away better prepared for what may come our way. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
All right, thank you, Bill. We appreciate that. I want to give you a quick overview, and then we'll get into our speakers. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to cover two major areas. One are the financial scams that are even more prevalent now than they were the last time we held one of these gatherings. And then a new addition is the elder abuse, and the fact that this is a problem is even hard for me to understand. As a matter of fact, the National Council on Aging reports that up to 5 million older Americans are abused every year. Simply put, so that we can understand that, that's 1 in 10 Americans over age 60 have experienced some form of elder abuse. What's truly troubling is that only 1 in 24 cases are reported. Folks, if we just had one, interaction here where authorities could intercede and stop a situation, it'll make this whole conference worthwhile. As I thought about this program today, I was reminded of a quote actually by Pearl Buck, who wrote a best-selling book back in the 30s called The Good Earth. Maybe some of you read that, but listen to her quote. "Our society must make it right and possible for old people not to fear the young or be deserted by them. For the test of any civilization is the way that it cares for its most helpless members." So today we're going to cover those two topics, and you'll have the option to attend the breakout session of your choice. And before we get started, a list of our sponsors and participants is in your program, and a big thank you to the church and to Right at Home for providing the refreshments for today. So with that, I'll go into our speaker introductions. I'll do them one at a time as they are in the order on the program. First up is the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And I actually have the honor of having one of my former colleagues here. I won't get into how long I've been retired from the FBI, but suffice it to say that Paul and I worked together a number of years ago. Paul is a 35-year veteran of the Bureau and currently serves as a public affairs officer. He's the primary spokesperson for the Birmingham Division, and that's just one of many positions that he has held within the Bureau. So today he'll introduce the FBI's role in elder financial fraud and senior exploitation. So if you would, welcome Paul Damon from the FBI.
Thank you, Ashley, very much. Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm with the government, and I'm here to help you. So first of all, thank you for being here. It's my pleasure and my honor to be here to represent the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Birmingham Division, and on behalf of Special Agent in Charge Johnny Sharp, I want to say, again, thank you for being here. And I appreciate your attendance, and by being here, it shows how important this topic is to each of you, and that is key to as you'll see as we talk about this briefly, being able to protect yourself as education and being in programs like this. So I want to thank Mayor Curry, who, as he has mentioned, we've known each other for a few years. Won't say how many, but it has been a couple, and it's great to be back to see him again. So first of all, I want to say not only is it good to see Mayor Curry, it's good to see each of you. And by that I mean now with the COVID situation, for a number of years, part of my responsibility with the FBI as the public information officer and the private sector coordinator with our division is I go out and I speak to a lot of groups, a lot of businesses on various topics, and we haven't been able to do that for a while. So it's nice to be able to be back in person and to see you in person again. So it's great to be here. So the FBI, who are we? What do we do? And what's our role here? So the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, is the primary investigative arm of the Department of Justice. We have a number, over 300 violations of federal law that we look at. This elder fraud falls within that category. It's part of our complex financial crimes program. And so the scams that you see, that you hear about, that you're aware of, that we'll talk about today, all fall within the jurisdiction of the FBI. So what I want to do, just briefly, is to talk about some of the top scams that we see, how you can protect yourself, and then finally how to report those. That's the key. So each of you, I hope, most of you anyway, some of the folks that came in may not have that, should have one of these. I think I tried to give one to everybody. If not, we will get one to you. We've got plenty of them, so don't worry. And what I'm going to talk about is going to come straight from most of this brochure that you've got. So the top scams that we see as it relates to seniors are really the same scams that we see for a lot of people. There's not really a lot of difference in the senior scams versus the regular scams. They just happen to shift their focus towards seniors. So the top scams that we see, I heard some talk in the hallway before I even came in here about romance scams. You see that there has been documentaries about it. There have been any number of things put out about it. But for whatever reason, the bad guys what they'll ultimately do is try to develop a relationship. Most of the time that's online to start with. Develop a relationship, and then they'll move into phone calls. And then ultimately, once they've kind of built the trust and developed the relationship, what they will try to do at that point is they'll find some way to try to get money out of you. And just recently, there was a story on Channel 48, I believe it was, up in Huntsville. The lady came forward, and they did a story on the fact that she had been scammed out of, I think, $400,000 is my memory, on a romance scam. And she wanted to come forward for the very purpose of saying, this happens, and if I can help somebody else and keep it from happening to somebody else, then I've done my job by making folks aware of my situation. So romance scams is number one for us, and just as you can see in your brochure, and I'll briefly go over the statistics with you. I won't bore you with a lot of statistics, but in 2021, the FBI, through our Internet Crime Complaint Center, and I'm going to beat that drum again several times before I leave here, it's the ic3.gov, ic3.gov, that's all here in your brochure, on the back of your brochure. ic3.gov is the place to report that to, and just the amount of victims that were reported to the FBI through ic3. That doesn't mean it's all the victims, it's just the one that were reported to ic3 in 2021. The losses exceeded $1.7 billion. And that was a 74% increase from the prior year. So the message I would like to say, part of the message I'd like to say, is that we don't think that's all of it. Clearly we don't. Elder fraud is a big push for both the FBI and the Department of Justice, our overarching umbrella agency, Department of Justice. So romance scams, number one. So be on the lookout for any email that you might get, any phone call that you might get where somebody tries to develop a relationship with you. Secondarily would be the grandparent scam. And that's, my father, when he was alive, actually got one of these solicitations. There'll be a call that comes in from somewhere to say, your grandson is in jail in Mexico or somewhere, and we need you to send money to get them out of jail. Now, a few years ago, my dad, who lived up in Gunnersville, he was getting to be up in age and was having a little dementia, but he called me one day in an absolute panic at work. And he said, Paul, Drew's in jail. Drew is my nephew, my brother's son. He said, Drew's in jail, what are we gonna do? And I'm like, what are you talking about? So we walked through it, he'd gotten this call, and I said, stop everything, and the first thing we wanna do is let's call Drew. If we call Drew and Drew answers the phone or responds to a text message and he's not in jail, we know that's probably a scam. So, able to calm him down, bring him down a little bit, I got all of the information from him, and I shared all of that information, reported all of that information to the ic3 system, and I'll explain in a second why that's important. So grandparent scam would be the second one that we see both locally and nationally, more so. Government impersonation scam. How many times have you gotten a phone call that said, this is the Social Security, this is the IRS, and if you don't pay us, we're gonna come get you. The FBI is gonna come knock on your door. No, they're not. Let's just clear that up. Let's be clear on that right now. No government agency is ever going to call you and ask for money like that. It's just not going to happen. But that's something that we see a lot of, both locally and nationally. So be aware of that. And then finally is the one that we've seen for years, it continues, And that's, again, it's not just with the seniors, but it's everybody, and that's the sweepstakes scam. You are the winner. You are the grand prize winner of whatever, right? And all you've got to do is pay the taxes on that, or some kind of a fee to get that, or a transfer fee, or whatever they want to call. They can call it whatever they want to. Bottom line is, if you have to pay for a prize you've been told that you won, that is a scam, and it should be reported. So those are the big ones that we see. I want you to be aware of those. So how do you prevent that? How do you protect yourself? Well, it goes back to what I said at the very beginning a minute ago, and that is being at programs like this. Educating yourself on what those scams are and what to be on the lookout for. Protecting yourself. Education is the key. So take a look, and I'll just run through. They're in your brochure, but I'll touch on a couple of those that are important. Resist the pressure to act quickly. So a lot of times we saw that with investment scams or with other types of things that come on that you've got to make a decision right now. We've got to act now. You've got to send the money right now. If you don't, bad things are going to happen, or you'll lose that prize, or whatever it is. So you have to act quickly. That's your flag. If you have to act now, don't act now, is my advice. Again, be cautious of unsolicited phone calls, mailings, emails. Basically, have a suspicious mind. Be skeptical about everything that you see, everything that you read, and double check it, triple check it. Whether that comes from what you believe to be your bank or your credit union that may send you an email. Don't ever send any money, don't ever click on any links that would do things like that. And never provide any personally identifiable information. So what is personally identifiable, if I can say it, personally identifiable information. So what is that? Things that are going to tie you back to your financial, your social security number, your date of birth, all of those things. Protect those. Do everything that you can to protect those. Don't share those with anyone for any reason unless you know and you've initiated the call, you know who you're talking to, and you know who you're doing business with. So those would be very important. Finally, it's how to report it, but before I get there, it's why seniors might be a target. And the reason that scam artists, and they just shift their focus back and forth towards anything that can get them money, but the big reason that they look at seniors is because typically, for the most part, seniors are more settled. They've got, perhaps have a retirement income. They've got a house that may or may be very well be paid for, that people can draw money out of by getting a mortgage or something along those lines. So they look at that. And they know that seniors typically have some reserves of money. In some cases, most cases, they know that not everybody, but in some cases, seniors, those that are of older age, may be lonely and looking for companionship, looking for somebody to talk to, and they play on that. They will sit there, and we had a scam that happened in this state. I won't go into detail on where it happened, but it happened in North Alabama, where the scammer would get up every morning, would call on a regular basis to the victim and pray with them. He prayed with them every day because he was a man of God, and they were going to be together. And the victim believed that. And they prayed together every day, and she was a victim of several $100,000. So, again, awareness is key. Some of the scam artists that we see will go through obituaries. They'll see a death of a particular person in Vestavia or Birmingham or Huntsville or wherever it happens to be, and then they will try to find that person's mate and call and pretend to be Social Security agency, and they need information. They need to get the Social Security number, or you need to provide some kind of fee or payment for whatever reason they come up with. So be aware of those things. And the other thing that you ought to be aware of as well, how many folks have a cell phone? Pretty much everybody has a phone that you get. How many times have you ever gotten a call and there was nobody there? So these these scam artists, what they're trying to do is develop to just see if that number actually is somebody's number. So they will come back then and use that and do what they call a spoof. So they'll pretend to be, they'll call and it'll be a number that perhaps is recognizable to somebody, and they'll use that as something. So again, if you get a call and there's nobody there, just hang up. Just hang up. Back in the day when I used to do this many years ago, when Ashley and I worked together, I did a number of these programs with seniors. And we would take a break about halfway through our presentation, and I would have everybody, okay, it's been a while, so let's take a break. Everybody put your hand out like this. Okay, put it down, put it up, put it down, and that was what we call the hang up the phone exercise. Nowadays, you just push a button, but back then you hung the phone up. And the same is true. It doesn't matter. The other thing that these guys are doing, they're very good at trying to persuade you, be sweet to you, be kind to you. Just hang up the phone. Don't answer it, number one, and if you happen to answer the phone, just hang up. That is your best protection when it comes to phone scams. So be aware. Finally, where to report this. And I want everybody to remember this. If you're taking notes, write this down. It's also on the back of your brochure. I'm going to repeat this and repeat this and repeat this. Report, report, report. So IC3, the letter I, the letter C, the number 3, .gov. IC3.gov. Again, that is the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. That is the place for the FBI to report all things scam related as it relates to this. So whether that's a phone call, whether that's an email, whatever the case may be, I want you to report. And that is whether or not you're a victim, even if you're not out of any money. Let's say you get a phone call and you happen to talk to them. Hopefully you've hung the phone up or didn't answer it. But if you get a phone call and it's Paul Damon trying to scam you, okay, and you've got a telephone number, or he tells you I'm with XYZ company, or whatever it is, get Paul off the phone, and then I want you to report that to IC3, and I'll tell you why, even if you're not a victim of any dollar loss. So when you report to IC3, and I tell everybody all across the state this when I talk to groups, reporting to IC3 is actually better than calling Paul Damon at the FBI. Because what happens when you push the button and make that report to IC3, it immediately goes up to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Unit and is reviewed by supervisory agents and intelligence analysts. And the first thing that they're going to do is scrub it for intelligence. So they're going to say, okay, Paul Damon at this telephone number. Have we ever seen Paul Damon's name before? Anywhere? Have we ever seen this telephone number? Anywhere. Is it tied to something already? So that one piece of information might be something that would be very helpful to potentially an ongoing investigation that could be happening in San Diego, California already, or somewhere in the country. Or even if it's not, that piece of information is something that we can put into our intelligence database so that when something else pops up, we've got we know that this person's already reached out to Vestavia Hills, Alabama, and we also know they've reached out to San Diego, California, and wherever the case may be. So report. Save IC3 to your favorites. Share it with everybody you know. Share it with your family, your friends. Drop off one of those brochures at a lobby somewhere. If you go to the dentist office or the doctor's office, share it everywhere you go, because the more people that we can get to report information, the better off we are across the board as far as being able to stop this, because education really, truly is the best key to prevention. And so I appreciate your being here. So with that, I will stop, and I will be available, as Ashley mentioned, in a breakout room if you would like to speak to me privately or even not privately. I'm happy to talk to you about anything, share a story that you may have, or if you'd like to report something, I'm happy to speak to you about that as well. We want to hear from you. And one thing I'll close with is, you see this in your brochure, is the Department of Justice. There was an act that was passed in 2017 called the Elder Abuse Prevention and Prosecution Act of 2017. It's on the left-hand side of the inside flap of your brochure. that act allows the government to prosecute things federally that we otherwise wouldn't. So that's why it's so important to provide this information. So where, in many cases, the United States Attorney's Office, who is our prosecutor for the government, may have a threshold typically of amount of money, that threshold is lessened with this act. So please, 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 please report, report, report. And I look forward to seeing some of you hopefully afterwards. And if I can ever be of assistance, I would be more than happy to do so. So thank you again.
All right, thank you, Paul. Our next speaker is Robin James, and she is with the Elder Justice Center of Alabama. This can be a great resource for you, as she'll tell you more about what this center does. But she's been recently appointed as the director of the Elder Justice Center of Alabama and served as the marketing and innovation director for the Middle Alabama Area Agency on Aging. She's done that since 2016. She has been involved with local, state, and national leaders to create this new center, which mobilizes communities to prevent and properly respond to adult mistreatment across the state. She has served over 10 years as the state director for several aging programs with the Alabama Department of Senior Services. She created and served as the state liaison for Alabama's statewide Elder Justice Council, where she coordinated some 35 agencies. She led the effort to create Alabama's Elder Abuse Protection Toolkit, which is now modeled in several states. Needless to say, Ms. James has dedicated her career as a public servant advocating for older adults, and she has served on multiple local, state, and national coalitions. She was recently nominated as the Shelby County Public Servant of the Year, and she has received an honorary award as one of Alabama's top 50 over 50. So with that, I introduce Robin James.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me okay? I always ask this question, am I too loud? People say I talk too loud, and I've given so many presentations over the course of my career to senior citizens that they always say I'm the only one without a microphone that they can hear in the crowd. So I do apologize for that. But it's just a real pleasure to be here to share some really good news with all of you. And I did want to reiterate what Mayor Curry said about, people, everywhere we go, older adults don't, and their caregivers, their family members, really don't think that they need to hear the message of elder abuse. I would never mistreat my mother or my father. That would never happen. So I don't really need to hear that message. But I did want to say, especially since COVID hit, it has been a huge problem because of social isolation. How many of you were stuck at home like all of us, right? And your senior centers were closed, your churches were closed, and so it just was a breeding ground for those older adults who depend on a family member or another caretaker to care for them, to be neglected, financially exploited, physical abuse, sexual abuse, or even self-neglect, which is a huge problem in the state of Alabama. So I will say that those with dementia are twice as likely to experience some form of mistreatment. And I was always unable to have children, and I was always around older adults growing up. And so it's just always been a passion of mine. And so I just always feel very blessed and honored that I could do my part to make sure that older adults can age with dignity and safety and independence as they age. Our agency is one of 13 local area agencies, or a AAA, and every county in the country you all have access to a local area agency. So for Jefferson County, it's actually United Way Area Agency on Aging. And so our agency covers the 5 counties around Jefferson County. But the good news I want to share with you is my other counterpart who was going to be here today, he's a retired lieutenant from Montgomery Police Department. He's a consultant of ours, and he started the Family Justice Center in Montgomery. A lot of you may have heard about it. I think there's also one in Florence now, and then there's another one in Alabama. And he and I have been talking for 12 years about the vision of having similar that model, but only for older adults in somewhere in the state of Alabama. And so we just opened June 15th, which is actually World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. We opened the Elder Justice Center of Alabama. And it's located exactly in the middle of the state, which is the city of Montevallo. And it takes that domestic violence model, which if there's a survivor of domestic violence and they go to one location, they get all the wraparound services, no cost to the survivor. They get legal help, counseling, trauma-informed counseling. Their children can live there. They get a lot of education, a lot of interventions, temporary safe shelter. And so we have that model in Montevallo for older adults. And so it really is some good news. And the spirit of the center is that we catch families early before the abuse happens in the first place. So we do a lot with family caregivers. We use evidence-based, all these fancy tools that we use to measure their stresses, their burdens, their depression. And I just want to give you one call. We are not the investigative. We're the prevention and the advocacy arm for older adults. So in the other room, there's a lot of resources we have at our table. But if any of you who even suspect some form of abuse, neglect, or exploitation, you really need to report it to Adult Protective Services. You can report it anonymously. You don't need to give your name at all. And so this has been a true collaboration with several district attorney offices, Adult Protective Services, advocacy groups, other local area agencies. We submitted a grant to the governor's office a year and a half ago, and we just got $1 million in May through the state legislature, the general budget that pays for our building. So immediately we became a statewide Elder Justice Center of Alabama. So there's no boundaries with us. And part of the model that we have the free legal help. We have, really we're geared towards 60 and above, but for the state of Alabama, the law protects vulnerable adults who are 18 and older. So, but our focus truly is older adults. Counseling, so if somebody has been mistreated, they can come and get counseling from us. We have a training center where we do a lot to train a lot of first responders, but mostly law enforcement, to know how to detect it and how to prosecute it. And then we also have an adult day health center. And we just opened that last week, 2 days a week, where a caregiver can drop their loved one off at our facility, half day or a full day, so that they can get a break from caregiving. I've been a caregiver 3 times in my life, and I can tell you, caregivers, most of them have the best of intentions. You know, as a society, we do really good teaching parents how to become new parents of children, right? We do little to prepare adult children to be better caregivers of their parents as they age. And so I just wanted to tell you one call that we got 2 weeks ago. And I'm not going to say the county, but it wasn't far from here. It was not Jefferson or Shelby County. And I got a call, and I said, Elder Justice Center, this is Robin, how can I help you? He said, I don't know if I need justice, but I need help. I'm 76 years old. My son moved in with me 2 years ago, and I'm not being treated right. He hasn't given me any liquid in 2 days and nothing to eat. And I fell 5 days ago, and I'm pretty sure I broke my hip, but I know I can't walk. And I said, sir, where's your son now? He said he's asleep in the bed, he stays up all night, and he sleeps all day. I said, do you give me permission to have somebody come out and check on you? Absolutely. So we called 911, we called the sheriff's department, they immediately went out there. Sure enough, the man was in the hospital for almost 2 weeks. He did break his hip. You know, that now it's with Adult Protective Services to investigate it. They immediately have to go out within 12 hours if it's an emergency immediate. So they were out there quickly. But I mean, I'm sure his son, I mean, so you just don't know. And so let me just give you one tip, especially if you have to, if you're a family member, not just a family member, even a paid caregiver. And it's sad for anybody to think that this happens, but it does happen. It happens a lot. And so part of what we want to do is again, reach out to the Elder Justice Center. Let us give the caregiver the tools. And this is one tool that older adults never think about using. And we did it in our family with both my in-laws that moved in with us. They said, Robin, I want you to be power of attorney and the administrator. Great. I said, not a problem. It's a lot of responsibility. But they had 5 other siblings. And I said, as long as pick one, whichever one of you other children can have at least a window access to the bank account. So every time I use their debit card, they can at least see where that money's going. And that was just something our bank we found out about, that is almost every bank offers that. So if that's something, if you have to get some help, it's okay. But just kind of, you know, try to, like anything, it's like preparing for a disaster. You want to prepare when you get old and maybe you have some chronic medical conditions that you're going to need some help. And so plan for that early. You know, put a plan together like you would, because it could be a disaster. So I just encourage you, I'll be in one of the breakout sessions. We have a great website that we recently launched, and it's real easy to remember if any of you, but we also have a old-fashioned telephone you all can call as well, and it's elderjusticeal.org. We're a nonprofit. Our agency started a nonprofit for the Elder Justice Center. So I just wanted to, you know, just ask you to really look out for each other, you know, and just know that we're here. And then, of course, if you need caregiver, we have a lot of no-cost programs under your local area agency, and we ask that you start by calling them first. And all of you have heard of Meals on Wheels, right? We provide the meals in all the area agencies in Alabama provide those meals in the senior centers and for your homebound neighbors. So if you haven't seen maybe one of your friends from church, give them a call, check on them, okay? And just ask them questions. I know you fell and broke your hip and you told me your daughter moved in. How's it going with that? Just those kind of questions can really prevent a lot of heartache and a lot of devastation. So thank you so much, and thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Robin. One of the sister agencies there is the United Way's Area Agency on Aging, and we have Miss Cherie Head with us today. Cherie is the long-term care ombudsman coordinator for Jefferson County. Now, in that capacity, she serves a resident population of about 6,000 seniors. In this capacity, she is an advocate for the residents and initiates investigations of suspected abuse. She has spent her career advocating and fighting for the rights of our seniors. Cherie, thank you for coming.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for letting me come today. As Robin just explained, the Area Agency on Aging, like she said, there are 13 across the state of Alabama. The one that serves Jefferson County is United Way's Area Agency on Aging. I am a part of that organization. Myself and my colleague Morgan Rhodes, who's also here with me today, we work for the Area Agency on Aging. She's the coordinator for the Area Agency on Aging for the call center. So if you have calls, if you have questions, if you have anything that you need, you can contact 1-800-AGE-LINE, and one of our call center specialists will answer that and will refer you to any of the services that the Area Agency on Aging offers. There's a wide array of services that are offered through the Area Agency on Aging. One of those services is Meals on Wheels that most are familiar with. That is the way that you get in touch with anyone if you want to participate in that program for Meals on Wheels. There's also our Senior RX program that helps seniors get the cost of their medications down to low cost or no cost to assist with that. We also have SHIP program. The SHIP program also offers individuals Medicare counseling to make sure that your plan is what it needs to be for you and to make sure that you've got everything that you need. If something needs to be added or changed, they're available to do counseling for you. They also have a fraud portion as well for individuals who are experiencing fraud with Medicare. When people, you get calls from people, or the one that you get the most is probably they'll send you something in the mail like a knee brace or a hand brace or something. And you think, oh, okay, that's nice. And, you might try it out or you may not. But in receiving that and not sending it back, those individuals will then start trying to bill your Medicare for those supplies as medical supplies that you received that you did not ask for, but you may have received them, but because you have them in your possession, they'll try to bill Medicare for that sort of thing. So be careful about what you see through your Medicare, things that are being billed to you in that regard. So we have several other programs as well with the Area Agency on Aging, and we take great pride in taking care of our seniors and our aging population in Jefferson County. As she stated, we do just service Jefferson County. Most of our other AAAs service multiple counties, but because Jefferson is so large, we just service Jefferson County. My role with the Area Agency on Aging is the long-term care ombudsman coordinator, and nobody ever knows what an ombudsman is. So, and that's perfectly okay. Most of the time I get people who get it wrong. They'll call me Miss Budsby. And so I just say, okay, good morning, how are you? I receive it. So however you use the phrase, however it comes out, is perfectly okay with me. Just give us a call if you need us. So the term ombudsman is a Swedish term that literally means one who speaks on the behalf of others, who advocates for those who are not able to do so for themselves. So my job as a long-term care ombudsman coordinator is to advocate for all individuals who are in long-term care in Jefferson County. That includes nursing homes, assisted living facilities, and boarding homes in Jefferson County. Currently, there are 34 nursing homes in Jefferson County, 32 assisted livings, and 45 boarding homes. So that's about 112, 113 facilities that we cover on a regular basis. We're tasked with going out to those facilities on a regular basis and talking with the residents. We literally will go room to room and talk with those residents, check on them, see how things are going for them, and make sure they're being treated fairly in the setting that they're in. If they have concerns about the way that they're being cared for, whether that's financial concerns, physical concerns about their care, or being mistreated, they can report those things to us, and we either take them to the administration on their behalf as their advocates, or we go with them to show them, to teach them how to advocate for themselves. But if they never reach the place where they're comfortable with advocating for themselves or wanting the facility or other people to know it was them, that's perfectly okay. I'm perfectly okay with going and being that voice on their behalf to make sure that they're getting what they need in long-term care. Today I've got information for you all regarding the different types of fraud that you will see and scams that you would see in long-term care. That includes not just from inside the facility, but also from family members as well. One of the things that you have to be careful of as we begin to age is that a lot of times people will need a POA, a power of attorney, which is perfectly okay to have, but I want you to understand the boundaries of what a power of attorney can and cannot do for you. What they're allowed to do, what they can and cannot do, how much power. Again, it's called a power of attorney. You give them the power to act on your behalf. They only have as much power as you give them. But a lot of times, you all probably know better than me, because I'm on the other end of trying to speak for my mom, who still says she is very capable of speaking for herself, to getting things done for her or trying to maneuver things for her that she's very well capable or that she feels she can do for herself. And I'm going, well, no, Mom, let me handle that. Let me take care of that. She's like, no, I can do that. And so I have to be mindful and step back and say what she is able to do for herself, she does. And the power of attorney only gives me the power that she gives me. It's not a blanket thing where that person is able to make every decision for you, financially, medically, however. So sometimes people will abuse that, and so we oftentimes have to step in and mediate between family members and the facility or the resident in the facility about making sure that that resident's voice is heard. There are rights that residents have in long-term care. My job is to protect those rights in long-term care. The biggest barrier that we have to that is that residents just simply don't know that they have rights. And so we want to make sure that they know what their rights are so that they have an opportunity to assert those. And we assist them in building up that confidence to be able to go in and do that and speak for themselves. Or again, I will speak for them. I have no problem with that. So that's part of what we do. The other part of what we do is investigate abuse complaints. Those vary greatly within long-term care, anywhere from sexual abuse to physical abuse, things of that nature. So we work closely with the Alabama Department of Human Resources with their Adult Protective Services Division. We'll partner with them in some investigations that are outside of our scope, but we are the primary ones who will go inside the facility and check and make sure things are okay for those residents. We also field calls on a regular basis from individuals in the community who want more information concerning long-term care. How do I get into a facility? What are the pros and cons of it? What's Medicaid? What does Medicare play a role in? What does Medicaid do? How do I pay for long-term care? Medicaid is telling me I have to sell everything in order to be eligible. So we field those questions and we talk families through the process of what that means in entering into long-term care. As an ombudsman, I cannot give my personal opinion about any facility. Although we visit and monitor all of them on a regular basis, I can't give you my personal opinion, but I can give you information about what we may have investigated or looked into that facility so that you have more knowledge going in as to things that may be a barrier or maybe something that they're working on. Every facility has things that they need to improve, so there is no perfect facility or perfect place. But we can also give you information about the types of things that they do inside the facility that may meet the needs of what you're looking for. If that's a dementia-friendly facility or if there's some sort of activities or things that you prefer, I can give you information about all of those things. So mainly we want, like I said, be that voice, be that friend to go alongside them and to help them understand that there are lots of things that can go wrong. Sometimes it does, but we're there to protect and help them in any way. And also the AAA, our Area Agency on Aging, has lots of other services, and Morgan will be in the fellowship hall, I believe, and helping, giving out information regarding that, while I'll be in one of the breakout rooms to discuss some other things, to discuss what you will see as far as recognizing the different signs of abuse. When you see something, say something is the term that I used to use when I worked at DHR. If you see something, say something. And the other thing that I learned that I carry with me in all the work that I do is that stuff means stuff. If you see something, stuff means stuff. It's something there. So keep looking, keep digging. If it's bothering you, if your gut is telling you something's not right, then more than likely it means something. So say something. And so I want you to be sure, if you see something, say something. Don't be afraid. If it doesn't pan out to be anything, that's great. If it does, then you've helped somebody or you've helped yourself, and we appreciate that as well. So I'll be available in room 204 to discuss anything related to elder abuse. If you want information about recognizing the signs of elder abuse or recognizing the different types of fraud that you may see inside of a long-term care facility, let me know and I'll be available for you all. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Cherie. And of course, she'll be at one of the breakout sessions. Next up is our very own Vestavia Hills Police Department. I have the honor of working with these people most every day, and I'm extremely proud of our police department. Joining us today is Captain Johnny Evans. Johnny's a 29-year veteran with the police department. He is presently the commander for the investigative division, and needless to say, has many years of experience investigating a myriad of violations, both at the local, state, and federal level. He's also a graduate of the FBI's National Academy, and I'm just very pleased that our police department is here, and folks, if you can't remember anything else, just call the police department, and we'll get you to the right agency. Johnny?
Good afternoon. So here at the police department, we see a lot of crimes that really hit home, and the preying on elderly and children are two of the things that hit close to home to me. Mr. Damon was talking about the romance scams, the internet scams, things like that. Some of the things that we've seen are just cases that I've worked is lady gets a call, says, hey, you've won the lottery. She's like, oh, wow. And so they say, well, you've got to pay $80,000 in taxes and we will bring you a check. Well, I can't pay that. Well, how about, just since we drew your number, you've won a Mercedes. If you pay $8,000 in taxes and fees, we'll bring you the car. Well, they send the $8,000, no car, no nothing, and they were just waiting. A lot of times the scammers will want you to send gift cards or go to the bank and wire it through Western Union. Green Dot or vanilla gift cards, they're sometimes untraceable, so we can't figure out where they go back to. We have some information here that we've got that's going to be at the table that the city has set up in the fellowship hall. And one is a fraud prevention handbook. It's very, very helpful in knowing like how to answer people's questions, how to carry your wallet, how to carry your phone, what to tell people, what not to tell people. Then we have one that's called the Con Artist Playbook, and it's kind of a step-by-step of what they're going to tell you and what they're going to ask you. And then we have another that's it's kind of it's a flyer that's got various resources on here. Consumer identity fraud, elder, vulnerable, adult, financial exploitation, healthcare fraud, mail lottery sweepstakes, internet fraud, disaster-related investment, food stamp fraud, securities fraud, and general fraud resources. We also have things that we've put together here that's it's an envelope. It's got a magnet on it. You can stick it on your refrigerator, stick it anywhere, it'll stick. Inside, there's 4 cards in here. One is kind of got where it's common scams, reporting and prevention, what kind of a general look at what kind of scams are going to be. One is a contact list for phone numbers. And this is for that we think is important for y'all, for everybody to have. If we get a call that someone's unresponsive and we go in the house, we're not going to know who the next of kin is. We're not going to know what medications you're on. And this was kind of a thing put together between us and the fire department. And this is a medical conditions card. And it's got your primary care physician, if you're different conditions, heart, diabetic, COPD, Parkinson's, different things, that we will know how to get you the right help. And then this is a list of medications along with your next of kin. That way we can notify people if we need to come into your house. These are free. They're back there. Once again, if we go into a house and we see this, we know what's in there and we go straight to it. Very, very important. I've got 6 investigators that are going to be here. I know just from the sheer numbers that some of y'all, if not all of y'all, have gotten scam phone calls at some time in the past. My wife works for Social Security. I get Social Security calls at least 3 times a week. And I ask, sometimes I play along and I'll get them mad and they hang up on me, but they're going to tell you, you've got to pay this or that. Well, you don't. And Social Security's not going to call you and say, hey, we want your, What I advise, if somebody calls and says, hey, I'm with the Social Security, we need to talk about your thing, say, okay, hang up, call your local Social Security office. They have a phone number, and it's a 1-800 number. You call it, you tell them what just happened, you give them your Social Security number, they will tell you if there's anything wrong or not. 99.9 out of 100, there's nothing wrong with your account. It's somebody, and all of these calls are overseas. And it's gonna look like it's a local number. The one that comes up for me is a 205 number, which you would think is the Birmingham office. But, like Mr. Damon said, there's a way that they can get on the internet and call spoofing. And they can call you from your own phone number. And it makes it look like it's coming from your phone number. So they're doing everything they can. If they would work half as hard at doing things right as they do at doing it wrong, we'd be in a whole lot better shape. Another thing, if someone calls and says, hey, you've just won $8 million, my grandmother once told me if it sounds too good to be true, it is. The odds of winning the lottery are 330 million to 1. 330 million to 1. So, they're calling 100 people a day trying to get, and all they're trying to do is just catch somebody that'll give them some information. Another one that we're seeing a lot, like Mr. Damon said, they'll call and they'll claim that your grandson or granddaughter is in jail. You've got to send the money. Grandma, you've got to send the money. Please don't tell mom and dad. The first thing you got to do is hang up and call somebody. Don't worry about if they're in jail, they're going to be happy for you to get them out, whether you told their mama or their daddy or not. Okay? They're going to be happy they're out of jail. If they don't want you to tell them it's in jail, something's wrong. They either did something where they need to be in jail or so call somebody. Don't, we had some people here that went straight to the bank. Luckily, the bank said, what are you getting the money out for? Well, my granddaughter's in jail in Britain. The granddaughter was at work in Homewood and just happened to work for the bank. And so the bank said, ma'am, you don't need to be doing that. And they called the employee and they got everything straight. So luckily that happens. We have had some that have gone and gotten the money out, gone right across to Publix, Western Union, the money, gone. Because it's going to an overseas account. We can't track overseas account. I can't send somebody to Nigeria to try to get your money back. And that's where the money's going, is overseas. A lot of the local scams, some of the scams that we're seeing is pine straw. Somebody will come out to your house and say, hey, they'll have a trailer full of pine straw. You look outside, yeah, they got pine straw on the thing. They'll have about 10 or 12 bales out there. They'll come put the pine straw out, and then they'll give you a bill for 200 bales of pine straw. So it'll go from $150 to $3,000. Well, they did the work. You're expected to pay them, but they didn't put out what they say they are. So if somebody comes, if you didn't order pine straw, tell them to go along. Tell them to keep moving. One of the other ones is the mail order scam. We need you to go get gift cards and send us the gift cards. Call us and give us the gift card numbers. Well, once you give them the gift card number, that money's gone. There's some of these where there's no way that we can track that kind of stuff. But we've got 6 investigators here. That's what they do. They investigate these crimes. If you have any questions or got any kind of call that you think, may be suspicious, please come see us, because we can head this off. Don't be embarrassed, because we've all gotten them. We've all been called. We've all been contacted. But please come see us. We want to get your information, see if we can help if you have been a victim. If not, if you've got information, maybe we can use that to help build a case on someone else. But please come see us. We'll be in room, I think, 203 and 203B, 203A. So please come see us. We got 6 investigators plus myself, 7 of us there. So we'll be glad to talk to you one-on-one. And if you don't want to talk in front of anybody, grab me. We'll go talk in a hall and see if we can help you. So please come get this. This is for y'all. Please take it with you. It's very, very good information. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Johnny. Appreciate that. Last speaker before we go to the breakout sessions is from the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office. It's Ms. Candace Pickett. She has worked or served as Deputy District Attorney for some 15 years and has tried cases, jury trials, litigated a variety of cases ranging from misdemeanor appeals to drug offenses, property crimes, and violent felonies. Ms. Pickett has served as a narcotics prosecutor, where she helped coordinate a drug diversion program, and as a special prosecutor assigned to the Prescott House, the Child Advocacy Center here in Birmingham, where she helps children who were victims or witnesses to violent crimes and their families. By the way, Candace is currently a circuit court judge-elect for place 16 in the criminal division. Candace, we wish you the best on that, and glad to have you with us today.
All right, so since I'm bringing up the rear, I'll try to take as little time as possible. So you've heard from Captain Evans about the investigating and reporting. You've heard from Agent, I'm about to mispronounce your last name. Damon, about to say Draymond, I knew that one, right? Damon about their investigative work. Once they think they have enough for a criminal case, that's when they come to our office. I'd like to thank you all for being here on behalf of Danny Carr, the elected DA for Jefferson County. I was told to talk about what do we do. So if someone like Captain Evans or any other agency comes after they've done an investigation into any elder abuse, whether it's physical abuse, emotional abuse, or financial abuse, they bring that to us. If there's any additional investigative tools that they need, for example, if they have to subpoena medical records, they get those subpoenas from us. If they have to subpoena bank records or Cash App records, card records, things of that nature, we assist them in that manner. Once we know we've got a crime, once we know who the victim of that crime is, and more importantly, once we know who committed that crime, that's when they bring it to the district attorney's office for warrants, for charges, and it works its way through the court system. All of the different scams that you've heard about today, we deal with them all in the Jefferson County DA's office. If the person committing the crime is a local person within Jefferson County, our office will handle the prosecution. If it is someone who's that the feds may have began investigating and realized it doesn't quite meet their federal standards for elder abuse, but it definitely meets the state standards, they'll bring the case to us. Sometimes it works the opposite way. We can have a local case brought to us and we realize this actually stretches farther than what we have the capacity to deal with, and we'll bring in the feds to do a joint investigation to take care of whoever the person is. So I'm gonna thank you all for allowing me to be here. I'll be in room, I believe, 208. The only caveat that I will give, I am not legally allowed to give specific legal advice. I'm gonna say that one more time. I'm not allowed to give specific legal advice. However, if you present a situation to me in terms of a hypothetical, I can help you out, all right? Thank y'all so much. Look forward to talking with you later.
Okay, that introduces all of our agencies that can help you. Next, let's take a quick break. There may be a need to stop at a restroom. You may want to go next door to the refreshments and get a little something there. Let's take, say, 10 minutes or so, and then you need help getting to a break room or a breakout session, we will get you directed to that spot. So let's adjourn until we can get to the breakout room meetings.